Live, local, social. It's time for the Splash Live, Greater West Bloomfield's news magazine show. On cable, on the web, and all over social media. Featuring stories from close to home, starring people like you. Live from Greater West Bloomfield, it's the Splash Live.
Welcome, friends and neighbors, to the Splash Live on Civic Center TV. I'm Tyler Keefe. Thank you for joining us as we go over the latest affecting us right here in Greater West Bloomfield. A developing story over the weekend. A water main break in Farmington Hills made quite the impact close to home in West Bloomfield. A significant water main line in the area of 14 Mile and Drake Road broke early in the morning, around 4:30 a.m. on Saturday recently, as you can see on your screen on civiccentertv.com. Video from the Water Utilities Department and police departments in West Bloomfield showed major flooding in the roadways on 14 Mile Road right around Muirdale in West Bloomfield. Of course, Verona is the location in Farmington Hills. That neighborhood road was where the water main break had occurred. Road closures affected many drivers on Saturday morning, much to their surprise. Some of that video, I was actually out there trying to capture some of the moments and give that initial information out on the scene. And that road closure, the road closed, the through traffic sign, the furthest I could get up 14 Mile Road before roads were closed with that significant rain definitely had an impact. However, Great Lakes Water Authority, or GLEWA, crews, along with crews from many local communities, including West Bloomfield Township, immediately on the scene. This video from later on that day, courtesy of our own Jonathan Montgomery, as crews were clearing some of the water, trying to get the water out of the roadway where there was major flooding, to get drivers back on the road as they isolated that water main break and began the process of restoring regular water services for West Bloomfield Township and neighboring areas like Walled Lake and Novi, which were affected by boil water advisories. At this time, can't stress this enough, at this time close to home in West Bloomfield Township, there is no boil water advisory. However, if water pressure levels do drop any further, or if there's a complete loss of water during this restoration process, a boil water advisory may be put into effect either for certain areas of the township or township-wide. However, at this time, once again, there is no boil water advisory in West Bloomfield Township. That is not the case for some neighboring communities that are still affected by this water main break, and that may not remain the case as the water main goes back online for regular services. The Great Lakes Water Authority will have more information on that. We will continue to keep you updated as we did on Saturday, as we have ever since, on civiccentertv.com/water. Also at this time, important for you to know, close to home, West Bloomfield residents are encouraged to conserve their water usage. While water pressure is still at a safe level, you're still able to use water regularly in your home, you should limit those uses to only the essentials for the time being. That allows the Great Lakes Water Authority, the West Bloomfield Water and Utilities Department to make the necessary repairs and maintain safe water pressure levels throughout the township, and for some of their emergency switches that are providing water for safe water pressure to neighboring communities as well. The Great Lakes Water Authority, or GLEWA, held an emergency operations meeting this morning. They've done that regularly all throughout the weekend. They did that again on Monday morning to get the latest updates and more directives to communities affected by the boil water advisories, as well as overall by this water main break. Still no updates on that just yet from West Bloomfield Township. We have been in contact with Water Utilities Director Justin Taylor. He's expected to join us later on in the program for even more insight into the process of restoring this water main and what that may mean for West Bloomfield residents. So stay tuned, or at the very least, keep updated on this as it affects us close to home in West Bloomfield Township. civiccentertv.com/water is that website. You see it on your screen. Pause it, write it down, keep it in mind. civiccentertv.com/water. In addition, we'll put that information, any updated videos, any updated video footage, or further information from ourselves, from the Great Lakes Water Authority, from the West Bloomfield Police Department, on our Facebook page at Civic Center TV 15, and shared it as well on Instagram at Civic Center TV. On the basketball court, more glory for our local teams as the Orchard Lake St. Mary's girls basketball team won the MHSAA's Division I District 25 title with emphasis, defeating White Lake Lakeland 54-28. Highlights of that are available on our YouTube page and on CivicCenterTV.com. As they earn big wins, they make history in Eaglet sports. For some players, a championship would be the perfect bookend to a revolutionary story at St. Mary's.
It would mean everything. It would be with me for the rest of my life, and if we can make it that far, I'd be so grateful.
Brooke Shockey is the lone senior on a surging Orchard Lake St. Mary's girls basketball team. But if you know Brooke, you know basketball is more than just a game in the Shockey household. It's part of who they are. Brooke's dad, Jake, played for the boys' team in the early 2000s. Now, as he watches his daughter from the sidelines, the Eaglet legacy only gets stronger for the Shockeys on and off the court.
It's awesome, man. I got a lot of passion for St. Mary's. We go support a lot of their sports. A lot of my buddies' kids go there, so we're still very involved with St. Mary's. Just to see them build the girls program, it's been good to see, and I hope they continue to do it.
I feel like our family is known for basketball, so it's just something that is very important to me that I take very seriously. And it really just helps knowing that people know how seriously I take the sport.
The basketball connection is ironclad for the Shockey family. On the court, Brooke says a family-like chemistry has been the secret to growing the program in her years on varsity, and it is propelling this team to new heights in 2026.
I truly think that the bond that our team has together is different from most teams. Everybody has a good, whether it's a surface level friendship or a very close friendship, it doesn't matter. Everybody gets along.
A few of them have played together when they were younger, so they knew each other. But even the freshmen that have came along, they've bought into everything, and they know they're part of the team, and our older girls, they make sure everybody's involved with the team.
The entire team feels the same sense of pride for their school as the Legacy Shockeys. A championship would cement that pride for a lifetime.
It would mean everything. It would be with me for the rest of my life, and if we can make it that far, I'd be so grateful.
Man, it would mean the world for her, and I know I would be just as excited to see her make that run, and I think she's going to work as hard as she can to make that happen.
Championship or not, this Eaglets team is leaving its mark, providing the foundation for what may be as storied of a history in girls basketball as it has been for generations of boys, even if they don't know it yet, says Coach Creighton.
I don't know if they recognize that. We try and talk about it, but this group gets along very well. And you can see them on the bench, how they celebrate each other. I think after the season, they'll kind of realize how special it is.
For the Shockeys, they hope Brooke leaves her legacy on the court, setting a proud example for her school and her family.
We're just real proud of her. It's a lot of hours you put in, both as parents and grandparents, and certainly the players.
We talked about it today. I was like, man, we've been going to her games. I've been coaching her since she was little, 5 years old, and I was like, man, this could be the last time that she played at the high school level. So I think she's just like, it's surreal, but she's ready to leave it all out there. So, big moments. Hopefully, she performs up to par.
I'm just so grateful that I was a part of this St. Mary's girls division, and I hope we make it as far as we can.
A really solid performance for the girls basketball team last week in that district championship game against Lakeland. From the jump, they had control of that entire ball game, moving the basketball, getting it in the paint, shooting the lights out from beyond the arc. But the calling card of this Eaglets team, you look at that scoreboard, 54-28 final score in the district title game, only allowing less than 20 points in the district semifinal. Their defense is unbelievable. They had the Davison this week for the regional round. Stay tuned on CivicCenterTV.com for more updates on the St. Mary's girls basketball team's progress. Regionals this week. Quarterfinals would be early next week. All goes well by next weekend, Friday and Saturday. They might be going dancing in East Lansing. Close to home, our youngest residents are making a commitment to giving back, helping those in need in ways you would never expect from somebody of their age. Civic Center TV reporter Jake Schaff has the story.
Here in West Bloomfield, everybody always looks to try to make an impact, and that can happen at any time and at any age. Lincoln Millot, a fifth grader at Scotch Elementary, partnered with Mittens for Detroit to create the Michigan Society Children of the American Revolution Mitten Raiser, working to raise mittens for those in need throughout the community, all the while carrying on with his studies. I spoke with Lincoln recently to hear about the success of his mission and how he wants it to continue.
I am part of an organization called NSCAR, which would be the National Society Children of the American Revolution. And at last year, our state conference, I signed up to be the Kids Helping Kids state chair. So I had to figure out a project, and I decided to just do Mittens for Detroit. Around October, when I first had my first Zoom meeting with Wendy from Mittens for Detroit, we started a mitten raiser, and that ended on December 31st. But we have raised over 600 mittens.
Why was this mission so important for you?
Well, I just really like helping other people, and I also, not only did we just raise mittens for kids, we also raised 100 mittens for the Michigan Veterans Foundation, which one of their buildings is in and around Detroit, and that's just one of the many reasons why it was so important.
Lincoln's mother, Courtney, was blown away by the amount of ambition that her son had and was amazed to see how far his project has gone.
He just has a really big heart, and he's willing to do anything he can to accomplish it. I don't think any of us thought that he would be speaking at events to raise funds or creating contests throughout the state to get kids involved. It's just been fascinating. What's blown me away is just people's outpouring support of the program. I mean, Lincoln's just a 10, now 11-year-old kid doing this as a fifth grader, and to be able to raise over 600 mittens. The goal for every corporation, we learned from Wendy, is 250, and he was able to get 600. What are some of the biggest lessons and the biggest takeaways you've had from this entire experience and as you've continued to work with your mission?
One thing I've learned is even just a small pair of mittens goes a really long way, especially for the people receiving the pair of mittens. I hope to inspire younger kids to start getting into volunteering and donating to organizations, and that's just a really good way to start.
I have a feeling this is only the beginning for a kid like Lincoln, as there's already so many people all throughout the community whose hands are warmer thanks to him. For Civic Center TV, I'm Jake Schaff.
A point of immense pride for our community here in Greater West Bloomfield, seeing the kids get involved, seeing a need from people, having the empathy to say, I can help out, here's what I can do, and I'm going to make it happen. The kids are all right. In West Bloomfield, a familiar face making an appearance recently on one of the biggest syndicated programs on television. Pastor Elizabeth Hurd recently had a chance to live a dream and show off her smarts on Jeopardy! Out in Deep Freeze. I spoke to Reverend Hurd about her dream come true experience. Reverend Hurd, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Happy to have you on. As you had this great experience. You got to go on one of your favorite shows. What was that experience like for you?
It was honestly so surreal. I mean, I've been wanting to be on Jeopardy! Since I was in high school. And so to go through the entire test process and audition process and finally get that call was just a dream come true. And then to be there, I'm still pinching myself. I'm like, was that real? Did that happen? I mean, it did. It aired. So, but it was fantastic.
Yeah, it may not have been the result you wanted, but it's still the result ultimately you were going for was to get on the show and have that experience. So, having thought about it for so long, as you mentioned, wanting to be on that show since you were in high school, now getting a chance to do that, did it fulfill all those goals, all that thought you may have thought it was going to be like?
I mean, you're right. It wasn't exactly the result I wanted. I think anybody who goes on the show is I want to win the game. You don't go on and think I definitely want to get second place. But my real goal was just to make it to final, not go negative and get there. And I did that and I'm proud of it. And, second place on Jeopardy! Second place on Jeopardy. How many people can say that they've done even that? But yeah, it really was a dream come true, and was an incredible experience that I just get to say I had for the rest of my life.
I always wonder this when I watch Jeopardy. I think about it. I'm sure many people at home that watched you here in Greater West Bloomfield have the same question. How do you prepare for the breadth of knowledge that you need to compete on a show like that?
Yeah, Jeopardy is such a general knowledge show. Really, your knowledge base has to be about a mile wide and an inch deep. So, a question, like one of the questions I got was about science experiments, and it was an $1,000 question in the first round, and the answer was Louis Pasteur. And that was not something I was 100% sure about, but it was a French scientist in the 1860s. Usually you're going to be talking about Louis Pasteur there. So really, you just have to love learning. You have to have a lot of knowledge about a lot of different things. And, I also went on, there's a website that's created by a fan that has archived every single game since the Alex Trebek era started. And I just went and looked at games from 10 years ago up to the present day to just get a sense of what kind of questions do they ask, what usually pops up. How do they phrase the questions? And so there is a little bit of training that goes into it, but there's no great way to prepare. You have no idea what categories you're going to get. You have no idea what you're going to be asked on the show. You just have to kind of trust that you know enough to be there.
Reverend Elizabeth Hurd is with us from West Bloomfield United Methodist Church, and most recently from Jeopardy on national TV all across the U.S., including in your homes right here in Greater West Bloomfield. You mentioned that this was a long process for you. You get on the show, you get to achieve that dream, but then you got to keep it secret because it doesn't air the next day. What was that like for you?
Luckily, I was luckier. My entire taping cohort was luckier than most because we only had 3 weeks between taping and airing. Usually there's a couple of months between there, but we were the first original recipe Jeopardy shows after their tournament break. So it was interesting. Luckily, my parents had been out there with me, so my parents had known how I did. I may have told my brother and a couple of very trusted friends, but I think that was actually kind of really fun, was the secret of holding in how I had done, because a bunch of my friends were like, well, did you win? And I'm like, you have to watch. You have to watch the show. And that just made for a really excellent surprise when I had my viewing party and my friends were there watching. Would have been more excellent if I had won, but they were still glad to see that I had been out there and done a great job. So.
And you got to go do something that you had always thought about doing. And so many people have those thoughts in their head. They have these shows they want to audition for, they want to try out for something like Jeopardy, and they put it off because life's in the way. I don't know if I'm going to have time. What's your advice to people if they have a show like this that they want to go on, why they should apply?
Just apply. I took the various forms of the Jeopardy online test, from the teen test, the college tournament test, the regular adult test, and then the anytime test when they started that in 2020. I took that every single year. And so this was 17 years in the making. I had landed a couple of auditions that didn't work out. And then for whatever reason, this was the year. So just be persistent, just keep trying. You talk about putting something off. I literally the day before I got the notice that I had an audition for Jeopardy, I found out that I had thyroid cancer. And so it was just this very weird thing of life is lifing, and yet this dream is still there. And life is going to happen, and if you have something that you want to go for it, just make sure you do, because it will. If it's meant to be, I truly think the opportunity will come to you.
And it gives you a chance to let people know your story, and maybe perhaps be an inspiration for someone else. It's something you do on a day-to-day basis in your day job here at United Methodist Church. And I know for other people that may have those stories, that may be able to put themselves out in this way, what experience did you have being able to express yourself through going on a show like this?
Yeah, it was interesting because I was so nervous about what was I going to look like on Jeopardy. And I think that one thing that I've heard consistently from like my friends and my family that have watched was that like, yeah, that was exactly how we expected you to be. Like I'm a very external processor. So every single time I got a question right, I had a reaction. When I got a question wrong, I had a reaction. I made a little quip about my mom having a pacemaker when I hit a daily double. And it was just like, all my friends have been like, yeah, that's who you are. And so it was just a wonderful experience to be on a national stage and be able to fully express, like, I don't know, Jeopardy sometimes is so serious, and I'm not always the most serious of people. And it was fun to just bring a little bit of light and levity and fun to the stage.
It's always a fun time to have that experience and to be able to spread some smiles to people in your community and far beyond. Reverend Hurd, before I let you go, gotta give you the question. They do this sometimes. They like the people that they have on. Their second place people come back again. Would you do Jeopardy?
Absolutely. If Jeopardy called and was like, "We want you in the second chance tournament," which I would be surprised if they called me back. But absolutely, if they called and said, "We want you in the second chance tournament, we want you to come back," I was telling people the problem with Jeopardy is you play until you lose. And then you play and it's like addicting. You're like, I want to go again. How can I go again? So absolutely, if they called, I would go back. But I would also be very surprised if that happened.
Well, you got the community here behind you, rooting for you to get back on that second chance season. We're calling on you, Ken Jennings. Get Elizabeth Hurd back out there. Reverend Hurd, thank you so much for your time today, and congratulations.
Thank you.
I want to congratulate Pastor Hurd one more time on her accomplishment, just getting onto one of her favorite shows on TV. Not an easy accomplishment, pretty rare we have someone from close to home be able to achieve a dream like that. Wasn't a victory, but getting to go out there and set a goal and achieve that, always a win. Congrats to Pastor Hurd. We want her on that second chance tourney. We're rooting for her here in West Bloomfield. Get it done, Ken Jennings. Make it happen. That's what the people want. The weather is turning, the sun is shining, the best athletes are hitting the diamond everywhere from Lakeland, Florida for the Tigers to all across the globe for the World Baseball Classic. Baseball season is here at West Bloomfield High School as well, and perhaps the only person more pumped up about the season than the players themselves is West Bloomfield alum and baseball manager Josh Bernberg, who joins us on the Splash Live. Coach B, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure as always.
Yeah, glad to have you on. Baseball season, another exciting time here in Greater West Bloomfield. Your team's been able to develop into a bit of a power in recent years, starting to develop a bit of a reputation in Southeast Michigan as one of the better baseball programs up and coming. In these recent years, what do you believe have been some of the key points that have helped West Bloomfield turn the corner and in the spring season be a bit of a baseball school?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, really good players is a really good place to start. We've got lucky. A lot of kids grew up in West Bloomfield that happen to be good players. And when you start winning games, kids start to buy in. Winning becomes addicting, and you want to be able to feel that way all the time. And we had a bunch of guys that were competitive, too, that hated to lose. So, you combine those things, be lucky with a lot of good players and a lot of competitive kids. And I think you see that turn into a lot of baseball games and end up going on the right side for you.
Having been a baseball player yourself, knowing the culture around sports at West Bloomfield High School, and seeing the development of teams on the basketball court, on the football field, many other sports that have had a lot of success, like wrestling and so on in recent years, even before your tenure, what was your goal coming in to change that culture and build it to what it is today?
Yeah, absolutely. There felt like there was a lot of pressure coming in, being an alum of the school, having some good baseball teams that I was a part of as a player, and just wanting to do everything possible to get back to that. I put a lot of pressure on myself to be able to win right away. We got lucky. Like, there was a lot of really good players that came through here, and there's pressure that comes with the other sports teams being really good, especially our football team at the time that felt like every year that they play and still play now that they're a state championship contender. So when you see other sports teams doing really well there, you feel pressure yourself to be able to, live up to the expectations of the school. And, I think it's good for our kids to see other teams doing well, and, they want to do well too and make the school proud.
What does it take for these kids to be able to not only take their natural talent, especially those really good kids that are going to be getting possibly D1 offers or other college offers, to bring the other kids in the program, varsity and the lower levels, up to the standard that's now an expectation at West Bloomfield?
Yeah, I think that they realize that they can't do it by themselves. And they're always going to rely on younger kids to come up to the varsity level and perform. And you saw a lot of seniors on our team last year. We had 13 seniors last year, 9 of which went on to play college baseball. But, they were smart and they realized that we had some younger guys in the team, some sophomores and some juniors that they really needed to perform in order for us to get to where we needed to go. So, you see a lot of older guys in our program taking younger guys under their wing, being a leader, more of a mentor to those guys, getting extra work in with those guys. And, you go from a bunch of guys, some that know each other, some that are strangers going into the year, and you leave, after they're done playing with each other as brothers. And you have a bond for life there and memories that you'll never be able to take away from these players. So it's a really cool thing to see as a coach, and I'm excited for these kids this year. A lot of new faces, so going to be building a lot of new relationships and hopefully some great memories as well.
And that bleeds over from one season to the next. You leave that bitter taste in your mouth when you don't reach necessarily the goals that you were looking for, that ultimate goal of a championship. For your guys that are coming back this season, especially those in leadership positions, now how much is that feeding their motivation for themselves, but also helping you develop this team for 2026?
Yeah, I think it's huge. I mean, we only have 6 returners, which is crazy to say. I think it's the least amount we've ever had there since I've been there, and probably only 4 with real varsity game experience. But, I think they're going to take a lot of their experiences and a lot of success that they were part of last year. They want to feel that again, and they want to get back there, and they want to bring these younger guys up and show them that, this roster might be different, but the standards and the expectation stays the same. So, we want to stay where we've been. We don't want to have a rebuild year. We don't want any of that. We think we have some really good players here still, and we want to maintain the expectation that we built, like you've said, over the last 4 or 5 years and keep the thing rolling.
It's got to help, too, Coach, that this is all coinciding, getting ready for that season around Tigers opening day in a few weeks, spring training underway in Lakeland, the World Baseball Classic, Justin Verlander's back in Detroit. How does the excitement surrounding the professional baseball season and all that's around that help your players get into the motivation and be ready for the first pitch in the high school level?
Yeah, it always helps. And I'll throw college baseball in there as well, because I think that a lot of our guys see a lot of players that they played with going and starting their seasons with their colleges, in February, and they're going down south and playing, obviously. So they start to see that on social media, and it feels like baseball is kind of around the corner for high school ball as well. And I think the World Baseball Classic has been phenomenal this year. For anyone that's watched that, you see a different type of energy there. Kind of simulates like a playoff, MLB baseball experience, with the way that the energy is and the intensity of the game. So, and also the weather. I mean, we're sitting here. I think it's going to be close to 70 degrees sunny today, which is very, very unusual, as you know, for March 9th here. So I think you couple all those things together, and you got a lot of excitement around, the Michigan area for spring sports to kick off today.
Yeah, I got to ask about that, the unseasonable weather. I mean, I heard this on sports radio this morning driving into our studio about how that may play a factor into tryouts for some of the local baseball teams. For your team, being able to do that for tryouts, for those early practices, get those extra days outside, how much of a benefit is this sudden, surprising turn of the weather pattern?
It's huge. And I'll shout out our district and our athletic director, Eric Pierce, for giving us a turf field as well, which allows us to be outside maybe if the weather wasn't going to be as nice, or if there was a lot of rain, this weekend, we'd still be able to be out there because we have the turf facility. So we've been lucky. We've been able to be outside, 90+% of the time for tryouts when a lot of other teams are indoors in the gym. So, I hope a lot of other schools are going to be able to be outside this year with how nice the weather is. But it's a huge advantage for us to be able to get out there and go live with each other and see what kids can really do, because, you can only see so much in a gym. So we're very lucky to be able to get out there and see what the guys can do.
And you mentioned, athletic department support, Eric Pierce, a former coach, also before the athletic director at West Bloomfield High School, and just the amount of support you get from administration, from the school district, but also from the student body and families. How much of an impact does that ultimately have on your team, both from motivation, but also just the ability to have that kind of a system in place that helps build the overall culture in West Bloomfield sports?
For sure. Well, I mean, it's really cool for me because there's a lot of similar faces in the athletic department that were there when I was going to school here and playing here. And obviously, I played for Coach Pierce for 4 years, and now he's the athletic director. Coach Hilbers, who's our football coach, I've known forever. So there's just a lot of connections, within the athletic programs, and we all support one another, the coaches, and obviously our athletic director. It's not a mistake that he wins the awards that he gets, and I don't think it's a mistake that we've won as many championships throughout the athletic department, throughout all the programs since he's taken over as AD. So he's phenomenal, and we're lucky to have him. And we just have a lot of support from him. He was a former coach, so he knows what it's like for us to go through certain issues that we go through, the highs, the lows, and everything that comes with being a coach. So it's a really good athletic department and program, organization, whatever you want to call it, to be a part of. And I'm very lucky to be a small part of that.
Lastly, Coach, we've seen packed houses in Lakers Stadium for football season. We saw that recently for boys and girls basketball during their playoff runs. For people that may be looking for a spring sport to spectate close to home in their community, why is West Bloomfield Laker baseball the perfect experience?
Yeah, I always say everyone wants to support a winner, and we've won so much the last 5 years that we've had a lot of people come out and support us. Obviously with spring you hope for good weather, and once it gets nicer you get a lot more people showing up. But I think the kids deserve it. When we've won as many games as we've won the last 5 years, and league championships and a district championship, a regional final appearance, I think the kids deserve some eyes on the program, and we get that. So I'm very lucky. We got a lot of people that show up to our games, and I hope it's the same way this year. We're going to have a lot of new faces and a lot of excitement around the program with some younger blood coming up. So I think it'll be a super exciting spring in West Bloomfield for the baseball team.
Should be a fun year for the baseball team, getting started very shortly here in West Bloomfield as we move out of the last bits of the winter sports season and begin the sports season at West Bloomfield High School and all throughout the MHSAA. Coach B, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks so much, as always. Appreciate you guys.
Glad to have you on, and rooting for the Lakers as they get into the spring baseball season and all their other sports as well. There's so much to follow along with. We would have to have an entire show just for that in order to do so, but we got to keep moving along. If you want to keep up to date with all of your Lakers sports, do so online on their website, westbloomfieldathletics.com. Once again, that is westbloomfieldathletics.com. Close to home, our melting pot of cultures breeds a multitude of holiday celebrations all throughout the year. Eid al-Fitr is on the calendar very soon, and here in West Bloomfield Township, the local Muslim community invited each other and their neighbors to celebrate the holiday's message and bring the community closer together in celebration. Civic Center TV's Jonathan Montgomery has more.
Now, what does colorful clothing, handmade goods, and amazing food all have in common? If you said the Grand Eid Bazaar, you'd be correct. Today, I have the opportunity to talk to local vendors and residents of this community about what this event means to them.
This actually feels very great because this is an opportunity, and especially for us where we are home cooks. We don't have any restaurants or anything, right? So this kind of melas or the Eid Bazaars gives us the opportunity to connect with more people, to tell more about our business, our culture, our food. So as a whole, we appreciate it a lot.
Right now is a great time for people to shop because Eid is coming up. It's Ramadan, Eid, the community comes out, and there's so many other vendors you can shop from, and bazaars like this, like Hamara Des and many other bazaars we do, they give us small businesses a great opportunity to showcase our outfits and our items. So it's always a pleasure to be in this bazaar.
This is my fourth event so far with this company, Hamara Des. And I feel very good, especially this one. It sounds to be our biggest event out of the 4 events.
It's really important to me because I know a lot of little kids, big kids, older kids. I basically grew up here. I've been coming here since kindergarten. So being here is, I know a lot of the community. I know that if we do an event here, it's going to be successful. We've done events in other places as well. They've been successful, but here I've noticed that there's a lot more turnout. People are excited to get henna, and people bring their friends, especially in the middle school. It's surrounded by other schools as well, so people come from all over, and it's like a place to get together and just have a really fun celebration.
As families prepared for Eid al-Fitr, the Grand Eid Bazaar was a perfect opportunity for the community to come together, support local businesses as they reflect during the time of Ramadan. For Civic Center TV, I'm Jonathan Montgomery.
One of the hallmarks of the year on the Muslim faith calendar, and being able to celebrate that with people in the heart of your community. And what was great, I had a chance to talk to Farzana and Ariba alum last week about this leading up to their Eid al-Fitr Bazaar, the Grand Bazaar, the third annual version of that here in Greater West Bloomfield at West Bloomfield Middle School. And they were very adamant about they want this to be open to the community, especially in the times that we're in right now. The more of those connections we can make, let people into our individual cultures, our individual experiences, that's what keeps the community like Greater West Bloomfield the melting pot that it is, but also a close-knit community that values diversity and its cultures close to home every single day. We continue our coverage of a water main break over the weekend in Farmington Hills that is making an impact right here in West Bloomfield Township. The latest updates still remain. No boil water advisory is in effect in West Bloomfield Township. However, neighboring communities may still have those in effect at this time or in the near future as the Great Lakes Water Authority and other local entities fix the water main break that occurred in Farmington Hills over the weekend and restore regular water services for that area affected in West Bloomfield Township around 14 Mile and Drake near Meredale and others throughout the local area. Here with the latest updates, a man who's been very busy lately taking care of this issue in our township and assisting others is Justin Taylor, the Water and Sewer Utilities Department Director at West Bloomfield Township. Justin, thanks for coming on the show today.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you on. Certainly a point of interest for many people in the community, as it was a very big surprise to start off that weekend. A major water main break, a kind of a similar one to ones we've seen in years past, although maybe not perhaps the same widespread effect that this particular water main had in 2017 and 2021. What do we know now that may be an update from the information we got trickling in over the weekend?
Yeah, so this break had occurred, as you stated, in that location very early Saturday morning. This morning, Monday morning, they have wrapped up getting that new piece of pipe in there. 20-foot section of pipe was delivered Saturday. It is now in place and been welded in. So it's a matter of getting the locations near there flushed out, and they would then backfill this when they are ready. When GLWA is ready to, they will backfill this and repressurize that to test to make sure there is nothing, that needs immediate removal at this time. Further, either side of that, but this is in the same location. This is the third break on this 48-inch transmission line in the last decade or so, but that's where they stand right now. It has been put in place and welded in. They worked overnight last night to get that work done.
Yeah, if you're following the Great Lakes Water Authority on any of their social media, you've seen many picture updates throughout the weekend of them having repair crews on site to mitigate this issue, them bringing in this new section of piping that has now been installed, and they've continued to give their updates, facebook.com/glwater, as we've continued to give updates on how it affects us here in West Bloomfield on civiccentertv.com/water. Justin, an interesting thing that I ran across in doing initial research and getting this information out to our community over the weekend when this broke was the fact that when water is restored, when that pipe is repaired and they start the backflow into that system once again, that may be a point where there could be some additional boil water advisories for safety precaution purposes. Is that correct? Could we expect a possibility of even brief boil water advisories later on today or early on into this week as this repair concludes?
I don't want to completely rule that out, but West Bloomfield Township is isolated from that section of Maine that had to be shut down for these repairs. We've got 7 master meter vaults in the township. 2 of them sit within that section of Maine that had to be shut down. So we've isolated ourselves at those entry points. We do not anticipate anything coming into our system water-wise of questionable quality. But anything could happen if as they're doing this, We have to either shut down more entry points. We won't know until it's happening. But we do not anticipate having to go to a boil water. We've avoided it to this point. And also Commerce and Wixom have. A couple of the other communities that are affected, Walled Lake and part of the city of Novi, unfortunately have gone into boil water due to complete loss of water in their distribution system. We had low pressures noticed at the time of the break. By mid-morning Saturday, when we got isolated off of that main, our pressures recovered very quickly, and we've been steady since, running 10 to 12 psi lower than what our normal operating pressures are, but that has to do with the emergency interconnections open to our neighboring communities to the west.
So the latest remains the same for this situation. No boil water advisory is in effect in West Bloomfield Township. There are some areas of Walled Lake and Novi that are affected by that at this time. That may change throughout the day or the early portion of this week as the Great Lakes Water Authority, you may hear that referred to as GLEWA, continues to conclude their restoration of this particular water main. A couple questions, Justin, and this may be beyond your purview specifically in West Bloomfield, but being in the conversation with other communities and the Great Lakes Water Authority, this isn't the first break we've seen on this section of Maine in recent years. Of course, many people will remember the major break on this from 2017 that did lead to prolonged boil water advisories in West Bloomfield Township. Of course, there was another one in 2021. Is that being addressed, or maybe how may that be addressed from the local water apparatus and the systems that are in place, our communities, to possibly prevent further breakages in years to come?
Yeah, absolutely. That is being the first, the operation at hand right now is to get this current break fixed.
Of course.
That is something they will do is when this repair, is complete, is to look at this whole stretch of Maine and see what is the more permanent repair or solution to why we've seen these breaks happening at a more frequent rate. Now that infrastructure is more than half a century old, so it is nearing end of life. But I know that when GLWA wraps up this immediate emergency issue and all the surrounding communities that are affected, the larger picture will be looked at there.
And then just going back to Saturday, because very lucky were we here in West Bloomfield that this didn't become a more widespread issue. It was very much, and that's not to say it was lucky for the people in the immediate area near Muirdale or those near Verona and Farmington Hills that were directly affected by this, Justin. But there were systems in place in the West Bloomfield Water Utilities Department, their apparatus, their systems here that were able to support the rest of our township, but also provide support to communities like Commerce nearby and even parts of Walled Lake and others that were affected. What were those systems, and how do you spring into action when you do get a notification of drops in water pressure or a water main break to be able to maintain safe water for us, but also support our neighboring communities?
Yeah, thank you. So when we got the notification of the break, we have our brothers and sisters in public safety, the police and the fire department. A call would be placed into that dispatch center, and dispatch then reaches out to us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We have an on-call technician and an on-call supervisor, and those rotate on a weekly basis. But so that emergency call came into our on-call technician. And like you said, they sprung into action. I would like to commend, both police and fire for their assistance in this and keeping the public safe and away from that break site, but also our internal team here at the department, that their fast response able to keep us from going into that boil water.
Definitely.
Again, like I said, we noticed lower pressures, but we're able to isolate ourselves from that and get to the safe point in West Bloomfield where we could bring our pressures back to normal, and then open up what are considered emergency interconnections. We have 3 of those with Commerce Township. And throughout the day Saturday, once we knew West Bloomfield was okay and safe, that we had our system where it needed to be to keep our residents and businesses from going into that boil water or complete loss of water, we then began to open with Commerce Township those interconnections to help feed water moving to the west. And through Commerce, they can then feed Wixom and Walled Lake. So we are, again, we're running a little bit lower on our pressures here internally in West Bloomfield. And all we are asking of our residents is if they can avoid using any excess water. Obviously, do what you need to do. It is safe to drink. We are not in that boil water. But if you can conserve, that will help our neighboring communities in this time of emergency.
Yeah, the biggest thing is maintaining a safe water pressure level. The support from our township supports those other communities and vice versa. So that limitation of water is to maintain a safe level for you, for your neighbors, for other businesses, and for our other communities as well. Justin, want to commend your team for its fast work over the weekend, as well as your partners in public safety for putting this situation into a fast resolution, and of course, keeping our community safe in the process. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. He's a very busy man right now. The Water Utilities Department has been working around the clock with the Great Lakes Water Authority to attend to this break, to bring it to a safe and expedient resolution, and that is expected early on this week as Great Lakes Water Authority, or GLEWA crews, continue to be on site, wrapping up the restoration of that section of water main that broke early on Saturday morning and restoring regular water services for West Bloomfield Township and those other communities. But once again, there is no boil water advisory in effect at this time in West Bloomfield Township. There could possibly be a small chance of a boil water advisory once service is restored, as they test water pressure and safety standards once the system is back in regular operation. Should that happen, or any other significant or minor updates to this story, continue to file in. We'll keep you updated on our website, civiccentertv.com/water. Once again, that's civiccentertv.com/water. Link to it is right on our homepage, top of the screen as well. That will remain through the resolution of this event. More major repairs and improvements at this time in West Bloomfield. This time, the kind that were planned in advance. Fire Station number 1 continues to undergo renovations, turning it from one of the oldest fire stations in our local area to one of the most state-of-the-art facilities for our men and women protecting us in fire department and EMS services in West Bloomfield today and in the future. Civic Center TV's Jake Schaff spoke to Deputy Chief Mark Lowry and others from the fire department team for the latest update.
It may not look like much at the moment, but construction has been hard at work for the brand new West Bloomfield Fire Station number 1, a building that is planning to serve as a beacon for the West Bloomfield community and a symbol of the fire department's dedication to protecting our neighbors. I had the chance to speak with Deputy Fire Chief Mark Lowry to get some updates on the construction's progress and to get a better understanding of what this brand new fire station will be providing.
I just got back from a walkthrough with Partners in Architect, and we went through the walkthrough of the upper level. So right now the upper level is studded in. That means that the drywall and everything isn't in yet. And the reason that we do the walkthrough is to make sure that we're getting all the electrical and all the low voltage drops and everything where it should be before we close the walls in. So right now it's set up where there are 3 bunks. There's the officers' quarters, the officers' office, and then we did a quick look at the downstairs. Probably about a month from now, we'll go do the walkthrough of the downstairs, and that's when all of those walls will be studded in and ready to kind of do a final preview before they close it up.
What would you say are maybe the next steps in terms of this construction with Fire Station 1?
So currently, as soon as they get done with our approval of where all the plugs and everything go, they'll start to close that up, and then they'll move to the basement and do kind of the same process. So they'll put all the studs in, make sure that everything is where we want it before they close anything in. And that's where I was saying about a month from now, we should be looking at that. Currently, we are still on time. We're still on budget, and we're expecting, hopefully, to have this open and operating out of it the end of December.
Now, I would imagine with Fire Station 1 currently being closed, there's been a little bit of rerouting for some of the officers. What has that transitional process been like for the fire department?
So luckily for us, we've been through this process before. If you remember when we closed Station 3 for a little while and rebuilt that. So we basically did the same thing. We reallocated assets and personnel to make sure that we could still cover all of the areas that we needed to cover. So yes, it's a little busier in the south, and some of the other stations are picking up the area that Station 1 normally covers, but there's been zero drop in service.
What is it like to really finally be putting these plans into action and starting a new chapter for Fire Station 1 in West Bloomfield?
And we would like to take all the credit for this, but we know that that's not true. This has been a team effort with everybody from town hall staff all the way through to the folks that are out there hanging studs right now. We've had a ton of support with our planning, with our building, with our finance. There's a lot of folks that have helped us and are in on a lot of the planning meetings, which is why this, as a collaborative effort, is going so smoothly. We're doing better this time than we have in the past, and we're just simply learning from mistakes we made earlier.
Any final words you'd like to give to the West Bloomfield community about this construction and what's to come next?
We appreciate the support that the community gives us, and we understand that it's a bit of an eyesore right now. But when it's done, we will all be proud of what the final product looks like.
Plenty of work being done here in West Bloomfield, with this building set to open by the end of this year, as this brand new fire station will serve its purpose and serve the community for many years in the future. For Civic Center TV, I'm Jake Schaff.
Progress every single day on that facility on Orchard Lake Road, just north of West Bloomfield High School. Fire Station number 1 expected to be complete very, very soon and restore that fire station to being one of the hallmarks of our community's public safety entities in Greater West Bloomfield. They provide support, of course, for West Bloomfield Township, but the fire department also playing a key role in providing fire services to the Tri-City Fire Department and Tri-City Fire Board for Keagle Harbor, Orchard Lake Village, and Sylvan Lake, as well as partnering communities. Having that state-of-the-art facility, just another part of their arsenal in making West Bloomfield's fire department one of the premier departments for public safety in all of Southeast Michigan. Close to home, many local creatives having a chance to show off their latest works, possibly even build some greater opportunities in the process, all in partnership with the West Bloomfield Township Public Library. Their local author fair coming back at the end of March to showcase some of the best works of some of our best writers right here in our community. I spoke to community engagement librarian Emily Tobin for a special preview right here on the Splash Live. Emily, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, great to have you on and to talk about this, because this is something that excites so many people. It's got to be exciting for the library because you're bringing in all these different people that just love to read and love to find new information, new stories, and to do that also by bringing in people that are writing those stories right here in our community. How special does that make the experience of this local author fair?
Well, I think you just said it best, that it is bringing in people that are writing the stories in our communities. It's very hard to get seen and to get published as a small author. So this gives people great visibility among people in our community to interact with others. It gets their work seen. It gets their work seen by buyers in local bookstores as well. We've had buyers from independent bookstores come and kind of scout people out. So it gives them an opportunity that they may not have had on their own.
And it's coming up very soon, March 22nd. It's a Sunday afternoon, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the main library in the meeting room, very much like the used book sale. You're going to have so many books that are available to you, but except in this case, you get to talk to the authors too. And Emily, as you mentioned, some of the recruiting that goes on here. You got local bookstores that are looking to add some authors from the community. That always bolsters their sales, but it's got to be a great experience too for these authors because they put so much effort into creating and curating these stories to be able to have an outlet. What does that mean to them?
Oh, for sure. It's like I said, it's hard to get published and to have all of you have a great support in like the community of publishing. So all of these local authors, they have a great support system in the room because everybody's kind of been through it together. But for the library to be able to host something like this, you're guaranteed an audience. And Sunday is one of our busiest days in the building, and it's a day where everybody in the community can participate. And to be able to have that kind of audience built in for you, you're guaranteed to see people, and you're guaranteed that someone's going to be viewing your work. So that I think is a great opportunity for them.
You can find more information on the local author fair, wblib.org. That's the West Bloomfield Township Public Library's official website. You can also visit them on Facebook and on Instagram at West Bloom LIB. Community engagement librarian Emily Tobin joins us on the Splash Live for a preview of the local author fair. It's always a good sign, Emily, when you bring up an event and beforehand you're telling us how long it's already been going on. The third annual iteration of this particular fair. What about this has made it one of those tentpole events for the late winter, early spring here in Greater West Bloomfield?
So March is reading month. So I like to do it in March because obviously it's reading month. And when I came here, I've been here for almost 4 years now. We did our first one the next year I came. And the library I came from had a very successful author fair, and a lot of libraries do them. But just every year as we have done another and another, the applications have grown. So you really see that there is, a need in the community to, get these authors showcased. And as a library, we can't have every book in our collection. That's the great resource of, being able to interlibrary loan. But this is a way for us to get local authors a platform in the community. So it's something that we want to keep doing, and that, it makes us feel like we're doing our part to support everyone in the community.
More information can be found on wblib.org or stop by Sunday, March 22nd from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the main library on the Town Hall campus in West Bloomfield. That's just off of Walnut Lake Road in between Farmington and Orchard Lake Road in West Bloomfield. Emily, what's the selection process like for finding these local authors? Because I'd imagine now with the third iteration of this coming up, it gets a little bit more congested trying to pick and choose. It can be a tough task.
Yep. So this year we had over 60 applicants. That's the most we've ever had. And we still have people calling saying, hey, can I be a part of it? But the application has closed because we want to be fair for everyone. But I try to pick a good range. So this year we have 15 authors coming to see us. It's gone up from 12 last year. I'm trying to create more space in the building. But I try to get a good mix of there's children's authors, there's teen authors, and there's adult authors, so that there is something for everybody, and that there is a good diverse mix of titles. So we kind of apply what our collection development process is to the applicants for the author fair, so that we're making a rounded out decision for what we're gonna bring in the public for.
And of course, the library wants people to read. They want them to be exploring different worlds through storytelling and be supportive of that. But something like this also supports, and I'd imagine fosters creativity and inspires that in the community where we have so many people with interesting stories or interesting ideas. How have you found that something like this does inspire people that maybe have had that idea for a number of years to finally put pen to paper or hands to keyboards and get going telling these stories?
Yeah, so we have had many people that we have a creative writing group that meets here every week at the library. There are 2 or 3 that have gone on to be in the author fair. There's one for sure that's in the author fair this year. There is a person that has been in the author fair previously, and she's on her 2nd book now, so it definitely encourages people to keep going. And I think that same author, she was, she's an avid library patron, and I think it encouraged her to get started as well. So I think just being in the room and being part of that process and that energy, it seems like a very daunting task when you are just getting started, to write a manuscript, format a manuscript, get an ISBN number, try to find somebody who's willing to publish your work, or do it yourself. And I think just being able to talk to other authors that have done it gives them that energy to get started.
Plenty more conversation with Emily Tobin about the author fair at West Bloomfield Township Public Library. That's going to be on March 22nd at the Main. More information on WBLIB.org. That's our show. I want to remind you that television that's close to home is always online on CivicCenterTV.com and across our social media. A big thank you to our entire crew, Jake Schaff and Jonathan Montgomery out in the field, and everyone behind the scenes making the magic happen. And of course, here's to you for being part of today's adventure along with us. For our entire team, I'm Tyler Kieft. Live, local, social, this is The Splash Live on Civic Center TV.